In the dazzling glow of Manhattan's elite Lucille, a black waitress dares to dance with a disabled boy, defying sneers and rigid rules. Unbeknownst to the scornful crowd, she sparked a revolution in the heart of a billionaire father. As prejudice clashes with courage, a hidden truth unravels, promising to reshape lives. Will dignity triumph over power, or will secrets tear them apart? Dive into this electrifying tale of redemption and defiance. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel to catch every pulse-pounding twist in this saga of heart and transformation. The opulent dining room of Lucille, Manhattan's crown jewel of fine dining, shimmered under crystal chandeliers, its tables adorned with crisp linens and silver cutlery that gleamed like polished stars. The elite of New York, tycoons, heiresses, and influencers sipped vintage wine, their murmured conversations weaving a tapestry of power and privilege. But in an instant, the room fell into a suffocating silence, as if the air itself held its breath. All eyes converged on a small clearing between tables, where 11-year-old Ethan Carver, his legs trembling in metal braces, stood with a fragile but determined smile, his hand extended toward Maya Ellis, the only black waitress in the restaurant. A soft piano melody had just begun, its notes floating like a whisper, and Ethan's impulsive urge to dance had caught everyone off guard. His braces glinted under the chandelier light, a stark reminder of the accident 2 years prior that had stolen his ability to walk unassisted. "Young man, this is unacceptable," barked Victor Crane, the restaurant's manager, his voice slicing through the stillness like a blade. "This is a dining establishment, not a dance hall, and our staff are not your playthings." William Carver, the billionaire founder of Carver Enterprises, sat frozen at his table, his knuckles white around a glass of bourbon. This was the first time he had brought Ethan to such a public setting since the tragedy, a decision he now regretted as judgmental stares bored into him. His jaw clenched, his voice low but commanding. "Ethan, sit down. Now." The order was sharp, meant to restore order, but Ethan's hand remained outstretched, his eyes fixed on Maya with a mix of hope and fear. Maya stood motionless, her tray balanced expertly in one hand, her dark eyes flicking from Victor's scowl to William's stern gaze, then settling on Ethan's trembling form. For 4 years, she had navigated Lucille's high society clientele by fading into the background, her presence tolerated but never acknowledged. She knew the rules: serve, smile, and stay invisible. But something in Ethan's gaze, a spark of defiance, a plea for connection, stirred her. "Mr. Crane," she said, her voice steady as she set her tray down and untied her apron, folding it with deliberate care. "My shift ended 10 minutes ago." The room gasped, a ripple of shock spreading through the crowd. William rose, his towering frame casting a shadow. "What do you think you're doing, miss?" His tone was ice, laced with the authority that had built his empire. Maya met his stare, unflinching. "I'm accepting a gentleman's invitation to dance, sir." Before anyone could intervene, she took Ethan's hand, her touch gentle but firm. "Ready when you are," she said softly, her smile warm enough to melt the room's chill. Ethan's first step was agonizingly slow, his braces scraping against the polished floor with a metallic screech that echoed like a challenge. Maya didn't rush him or steer his movements. She mirrored his pace, her steps fluid yet precise, as if they had rehearsed this moment. The crowd watched, transfixed, some with disdain, others with reluctant awe. "She's out of her mind," hissed a woman in pearls at a nearby table. "They'll fire her by morning." Another guest muttered, "Who does she think she is, defying Carver?" William stood rooted, his bourbon forgotten. A memory surged unbidden. His late wife, Clara, twirling Ethan in their sunlit living room, her laughter filling the air. "It's not about the steps, Will," she'd said, her eyes bright. "It's about feeling alive." Now, as Ethan took a second, then a third halting step, his face transformed. The fear in his eyes gave way to a fierce focus, then a shy pride that William hadn't seen since before the accident. For the first time, Ethan wasn't being guided or pitied, he was leading. Victor Crane edged closer, his voice a low growl meant only for William. "Mr. Carver, I assure you, this breach of decorum will be addressed. She'll face consequences." His words were laced with deference, but his eyes gleamed with anticipation, eager to restore the restaurant's rigid hierarchy. William didn't respond, his gaze locked on his son. Ethan's braces clinked rhythmically, a stark contrast to the piano's delicate notes, yet the sound was almost musical, a testament to his courage. Maya's calm presence seemed to anchor him, her movements a silent promise that he wouldn't fall. A waiter nearby whispered to a colleague, "She's got guts, I'll give her that." But another scoffed, "Guts won't save her job." As the melody faded, Maya guided Ethan back to his table, her voice formal but warm. "Thank you for the dance, sir. It was a privilege." She stepped back, her head held high, ready to face the fallout. The room remained silent, waiting for William's reaction. His wealth and influence could crush her with a single word, and every guest knew it. William's voice broke the tension, softer than anyone expected. "Hold on." He reached into his jacket, producing a sleek business card. "Your name?" "Maya Ellis," she replied, her tone even, though her fingers trembled as she took the card. "My office tomorrow, 10 a.m., he said, his eyes unreadable. The crowd exhaled, murmurs erupting as speculation swirled. "He's going to ruin her," one guest predicted. "Or maybe hire her," another mused, skeptical. Ethan, his cheeks flushed with exertion, looked up at his father. "Dad, why'd you do that?" His voice was small but piercing, carrying an edge of accusation. William met his son's gaze, and for a fleeting moment, he saw not just the fragile boy he'd shielded, but a young man yearning to be seen. The weight of his own detachment pressed against his chest, a reminder of the distance he'd allowed to grow. As Maya walked away, her silhouette framed by the restaurant's golden glow, her eyes held not fear, but a quiet resolve, as if she knew this dance was only the beginning of a far greater challenge. The dining room of Lucille buzzed with hushed whispers as the piano's final notes faded, the elite patrons resuming their meals with forced nonchalance, though their eyes darted toward the table where Ethan Carver sat, his face still alight with the thrill of his dance. Maya Ellis, her apron folded neatly over her arm, navigated the maze of tables toward the staff exit, her posture steady despite the weight of judgmental stares. The air crackled with tension, the restaurant's rigid hierarchy shaken by her bold act. William Carver, his bourbon untouched, watched her retreat, his mind wrestling with the image of his son's fleeting joy, a joy he hadn't seen in years. Victor Crane, the manager, hovered nearby, his voice a low hiss meant to restore order. "Mr. Carver, I'll ensure this incident is handled discreetly. She'll be dealt with by morning." William's jaw tightened, but he waved Victor off. "Not now." His tone was curt, his gaze still fixed on the door Maya had disappeared through. Ethan fiddled with his braces, his voice tentative. "Dad, is she in trouble because of me?" The question pierced William, his chest tightening with a guilt he couldn't name. "No, Ethan, you did nothing wrong." His words were clipped, but his eyes softened as he looked at his son, whose courage had just upended his carefully controlled world. Backstage, Maya slipped into the cramped staff room, her fingers brushing the business card William had given her. A fellow waitress, Tessa, a wiry woman with a skeptical frown, leaned against a locker. "You're either fearless or out of your mind, Maya. Dancing with Carver's kid? Victor's probably drafting your pink slip right now." Maya tucked the card into her pocket, her voice calm. "If they fire me, so be it. That boy needed a moment, and I gave it to him." Tessa crossed her arms, her tone sharp. "A moment? You just painted a target on your back. Carver's not some regular rich guy. He's a kingmaker. One word from him and you're done." Maya met her gaze, unflinching. "I've survived worse than kings, Tessa. I'm not here to bow." She grabbed her coat, but her mind was already on the meeting William had demanded. What did a man like him want with her? The next morning, Maya stood in the marble-clad lobby of Carver Enterprises, her navy skirt and blouse feeling painfully modest amid the tailored suits and clicking heels of executives. The towering glass walls reflected her solitary figure, a stark contrast to the polished opulence around her. She approached the reception desk, her voice steady. "Maya Ellis, here for Mr. Carver." The receptionist, a young man with a clipped tone, eyed her briefly before tapping his headset. "20th floor. Miss Hargrove will meet you." In the elevator, Maya's reflection stared back, her dark eyes resolute. She wasn't afraid. Years of scraping by had forged a quiet strength, but the unknown loomed like a storm cloud. Miss Hargrove, a severe woman in her 50s with a tight bun, greeted her with a thin smile. "Follow me, Miss Ellis." As they navigated the mirrored corridors, Hargrove's voice dropped, laced with condescension. "I assume you know why you're here. You crossed a line last night. Men like Mr. Carver don't tolerate defiance from, well, people in your position." Maya's lips curved slightly, her tone even. "My position? You mean someone who works for a living? Or is there another label you're hinting at?"
Hargrove's eyes narrowed, but she pressed on. "Don't be coy. You embarrassed a powerful client. You're lucky he's even giving you a meeting instead of suing a restaurant." Maya's smile didn't waver. "Lucky's not the word I'd use. Let's see what he wants before you write my obituary." Her defiance silenced Hargrove, who huffed and quickened her pace. William's office was a fortress of glass and steel, its floor-to-ceiling windows framing Manhattan like a conquered kingdom. He stood by the window, his broad shoulders outlined against the skyline, his face a mask of control. "Miss Ellis," he said, turning, his voice measured. "Thank you for coming. Sit." Maya took the offered chair, her posture straight, refusing to shrink under his scrutiny. The silence stretched, a calculated pause meant to unnerve. William broke it, his tone probing. "What's your background? Education? Experience?" "C. Hunter College, Psychology," she replied, her voice clear. "Halfway through a master's in special education, paused for personal reasons. I work to pay the bills, waitressing, tutoring, and running a community program for kids with disabilities." William's brow lifted, a flicker of surprise crossing his face. He picked up a folder from his desk, flipping it open. "I looked into you. Rhythm of Courage, your program. It's on the brink of collapse, isn't it? No funding, no future." Maya's jaw tightened, but her voice remained steady. "We're fighting to keep it alive. But I'm not here to beg for your charity, Mr. Carver." "Then why are you here?" he asked, leaning forward, his eyes searching hers. "Because you asked me to come," she said simply, her directness catching him off guard. "So, what's this about? Punishment or something else?" William's lips twitched, almost a smile, but his tone hardened. "I want you to work for me, not as a waitress, as a companion for Ethan. What you did last night, it reached him in a way no one else has." Maya's eyes narrowed, studying the framed photo on his desk. A woman, likely Ethan's mother, cradling a younger Ethan. "It was just a dance," she said, her voice softening. "He needed to feel in control, even for a moment." "It was more than that," William countered, his voice low, almost raw. "I haven't seen him like that since we lost his mother. I have experts, therapists, doctors, but they don't get through to him. You did." Maya leaned back, her gaze unwavering. "You think you can buy what happened last night? Hire me to play a role? That's not how it works, Mr. Carver." His face flushed, a rare crack in his composure. "I'm offering you a way out of your financial mess. Name your price." Maya stood, her voice firm. "I don't have a price. Ethan deserves someone who sees him, not his condition, or your bank account." She slid a card across the desk. "Rhythm of Courage, Tuesdays and Thursdays, 4 p.m. Bring him. First session's free." She turned to leave, but William's voice stopped her. "You're making a mistake, Miss Ellis." Maya glanced back, her smile faint but resolute. "Maybe, but it's mine to make." As she walked out, Hargrove lingered by the door, her whisper sharp. "You just threw away a fortune." Maya didn't break stride. "I kept something worth more." Her heart raced, but her resolve burned brighter. She had planted a seed, and now she waited to see if it would grow. The gleaming corridors of Carver Enterprises echoed with the sharp click of heels as Maya Ellis exited William Carver's office, her navy skirt swishing with each purposeful step. The weight of her refusal, a bold stand against a billionaire's offer, settled in her chest, not as regret, but as a quiet triumph. Behind her, Miss Hargrove's incredulous stare burned, but Maya's focus was already elsewhere, her mind racing toward the next battle, keeping Rhythm of Courage alive. Back in his office, William stood by the window, Manhattan sprawling beneath him like a chessboard, yet his thoughts were on Maya's card, now resting on his desk. Her words, "Ethan deserves someone who sees him," echoed, stirring a discomfort he couldn't shake. He glanced at a framed photo of his late wife, Clara, her smile a reminder of the warmth he'd lost and the son he was failing. At Les Ciels that evening, the restaurant hummed with its usual elegance, but the staff room buzzed with gossip. Tessa, the wiry waitress, cornered Maya as she tied on her apron for an extra shift. "You turned down Carver?" she hissed, her eyes wide. "Girl, you've got steel in you, but Victor's out for blood. He's saying you disrespected a VIP." Maya adjusted her name tag, her voice steady. "Victor can say what he wants. I'm not here to kiss rings." Tessa leaned closer, her voice low. "He's meeting with the owner tomorrow. They're talking termination. You sure you want to play this game?" Maya's lips curved into a faint smile. "It's not a game, Tessa. It's about what's right." She grabbed a tray, but her heart pounded, knowing the stakes were climbing. Meanwhile, at the Carver penthouse, Ethan sat in his room, his braces glinting under the soft glow of a lamp. He clutched a crumpled flyer for Rhythm of Courage, its bold slogan, "Your pace, your power," igniting a spark in his eyes. William entered, his tie loosened, his voice cautious. "You're up late, bud. Everything okay?" Ethan held up the flyer, his voice eager. "Can we go to this? Maya's program. It's for kids like me, Dad. They dance, they move, they don't just sit." William's chest tightened, his instinct to protect warring with the memory of Ethan's joy at Les Ciels. "We have therapists, Ethan, the best in the country. You don't need some community class." Ethan's face fell, his voice small but firm. "Those therapists tell me what I can't do. Maya didn't. She let me try." His words landed like a challenge, and William looked away, unable to meet his son's gaze.
The next morning, Laciel's back office was a pressure cooker. Victor Crane, his suit pristine, stood before the restaurant's owner, Miss Lorraine Duval, a sharp-eyed woman with a reputation for ruthlessness. "Maya Ellis is a liability," Victor said, his voice smooth but venomous. "She defied protocol, embarrassed Mr. Carver, and disrupted our image. I recommend immediate dismissal." Lorraine tapped her pen, her voice cool. "Carver's a major client, Victor, but he hasn't complained. Why the rush?" Victor's smile was tight. "It's about standards, Lorraine. She's a waitress, not a hero. Letting her stay sends the wrong message." Before Lorraine could respond, a knock interrupted. Tessa, her apron slightly askew, poked her head in. "Sorry, Miss Duval, but there's a customer insisting on seeing you. Says it's about Maya." Lorraine raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "Send them in." To everyone's shock, William Carver entered, his presence commanding the cramped office. Victor's composure slipped, his voice faltering. "Mr. Carver, I wasn't expecting." William cut him off, his tone clipped. "I'm here about Miss Ellis. I understand you're considering firing her." Lorraine leaned forward, her voice measured. "We're reviewing her conduct, Mr. Carver. Her actions at your table were unconventional." William's eyes narrowed, his voice firm. "Her actions gave my son a moment of dignity. If you fire her for that, you're not just losing a good employee, you're proving this place values image over humanity." Victor bristled, his voice rising. "With respect, sir, she broke protocol. Our clients expect decorum, not theatrics." William turned to him, his gaze icy. "Your clients expect to be human, Mr. Crane. Maya saw that when you didn't." He faced Lorraine, his tone resolute. "Keep her, or I take my business elsewhere, and I won't be alone." The threat hung heavy, and Lorraine's smile was thin. "We'll reconsider, Mr. Carver. Thank you for your input." As William left, Victor's face reddened, his whisper to Lorraine sharp. "This sets a dangerous precedent." Maya, unaware of the confrontation, was at Rhythm of Courage, setting up for the afternoon session. Her sister, Lena, a vibrant woman with a quick laugh, adjusted a speaker, her voice teasing. "You're trending, Maya. Kitchen staff's calling you the Carver Rebel. Think he'll show up tomorrow?" Maya sighed, arranging chairs. "I gave him the card, Lena. Ball's in his court. Ethan's the one I'm thinking about." Lena's eyes softened, her voice gentle. "You saw something in that kid, didn't you? Same way you saw it in me when I was struggling." Maya nodded, her voice quiet. "He's got fight in him. He just needs someone to believe it." Her phone buzzed, a text from Tessa. "Carver just saved your job. Victor's furious. Watch your back." Maya's breath caught, her mind racing. Why would William intervene? That evening, William sat in his study, Maya's card in hand, Ethan's flyer on his desk. He dialed his assistant, Marcus, his voice low. "Look into Rhythm of Courage. Funding, operations, everything. I want details by morning." Marcus hesitated, his voice curious. "Sir, is this about the waitress? People are talking." William's tone sharpened. "It's about my son. Do it." He hung up, staring at the flyer's slogan. Ethan's words, "She let me try," echoed, a challenge to the walls he'd built around them both. At Laciel, Victor met a contact in a dim corner of the bar, his voice hushed. "Maya's untouchable now, but I'm not done. Carver's soft spot is his kid. If that program of hers fails, she's got nothing." His contact, a wiry man with a sly grin, nodded. "I know a guy who can dig up dirt. Community centers like hers always have skeletons." Victor's smile was cold. "Find them. I want her out." As the plot thickened, Maya stood in the empty studio, her resolve unbroken. She sensed a storm brewing, but for Ethan, for every kid like him, she was ready to fight. The Rhythm of Courage Community Center, a weathered warehouse in Brooklyn, pulsed with life despite its peeling paint and cracked windows. Inside, handmade posters proclaiming "Move Your Way" and "Every Step Counts" adorned the walls, their vibrant colors a stark contrast to the gray morning light filtering through. Maya Ellis adjusted a speaker, her hands steady but her mind racing with the implications of William Carver's unexpected defense of her job at La Ciel. The text from Tessa still burned in her memory, a warning that Victor Crane's vendetta was far from over. Her sister, Lena, bustled nearby, arranging chairs for the afternoon session, her voice bright but edged with concern. "You're playing with fire, Maya. Carver sticking his neck out for you? That's not just about Ethan. What's his angle?" Maya paused, wiping her hands on her jeans, her voice measured. "I don't know yet, Lena. But if he's serious about helping Ethan, he'll show up tomorrow. That's what matters." Lena crossed her arms, her hijab catching the light. "And if he doesn't? Victor's not the type to let this slide. You're on his radar now." Maya's lips curved into a determined smile. "Then I'll deal with him. Ethan deserves a chance, and I'm not backing down." Her resolve was iron, forged by years of fighting for kids like Ethan and for herself. Across town, in the Carver penthouse, William sat in his study, a glass of scotch untouched on his desk. A dossier on Rhythm of Courage, compiled by his assistant Marcus, lay open, its pages detailing the program's shoestring budget and looming closure. Ethan's flyer, creased from handling, rested beside it, its slogan, "Your pace, your power," a silent challenge. Ethan entered, his braces clinking softly, his voice hesitant. "Dad, did you look at the flyer? Can we go to Maya's class?" William's jaw tightened, his instinct to shield Ethan warring with the boy's quiet defiance. "I'm looking into it, Ethan. These programs, they're not always what they seem." Ethan's eyes flashed, his voice firm. "Maya's not like your doctors. She didn't treat me like I'm broken. Please, Dad, I want to try." The plea hit William like a punch, stirring memories of Clara's voice urging him to let Ethan shine. He sighed, his voice softer. "All right, bud, we'll go, but I'm keeping my eyes open." Ethan's face lit up, and William felt a pang of hope and fear that he was stepping into uncharted territory. The next day, a sleek Rolls-Royce pulled up outside Rhythm of Courage, its polished exterior jarring against the gritty street. Ethan, clutching a water bottle, stared out the window, his excitement palpable. William, in a rare casual sweater, gripped the steering wheel, his knuckles white. "This place looks like it's falling apart," he muttered, his voice tight. Ethan turned to him, his voice earnest. "It's not about the building, Dad. It's about the people." His words, wise beyond his years, silenced William, who exhaled sharply and opened the door. Inside, Maya greeted them, her program-logoed shirt a badge of pride. "Welcome," she said, her smile warm but guarded. "Ethan, ready to join the fun?" Ethan nodded eagerly, his eyes wide as he took in the room. Kids with wheelchairs, prosthetics, and braces moving to a gentle beat, their laughter filling the air. "It's loud," William remarked, his discomfort evident. Maya's gaze met his, unflinching. "It's alive. Structure doesn't always look like what you're used to." She turned to Ethan. "Want to start with the group?" Ethan glanced at William, seeking permission. "Go ahead," William said, his voice gruff but relenting. "I'll be here." As Maya led Ethan to the kids, Lena approached William, offering a chair. "First days are tough," she said, her tone light but probing. "Parents usually struggle more than the kids." William sat, his posture rigid. "This isn't therapy. I've hired top specialists for Ethan." Lena tilted her head, her voice gentle. "And how's that going for him?" "Specialists fix bodies. Places like this rebuild spirits."
Her words lingered, and William's gaze shifted to Ethan, who was mimicking a boy's swaying motion, his braces clinking rhythmically.
The studio door swung open, and a woman with gray braids and an ornate cane entered, her presence commanding. Lena leaned in, whispering, "Dr. Olivia Grant, neuroscientist, retired from Yale." Olivia's eyes locked onto William, her voice sharp. "Mr. Carver, 4 times you rejected my funding proposals. Didn't expect to see you here." William stiffened, his voice cool. "Dr. Grant, I wasn't aware you were involved." "I lead the research," Olivia said, her tone unyielding. "We're studying how autonomous movement rewires neural pathways in kids with motor challenges." She gestured to the room. "This isn't just dance, it's science." William's brow furrowed, his voice skeptical. "Science? This looks like a free-for-all." Maya, returning from the group, overheard and stepped in, her voice firm. "It's a pilot program blending adaptive dance with neuroscience. We give kids control, not instructions. That's what Ethan responded to at LaSalle." William's eyes narrowed, a realization dawning. "You knew who I was that night, didn't you? This was planned." Maya didn't flinch, her voice steady. "I knew your name when you walked in. When Ethan stood up, I saw a chance to show you what we do, not just tell you." Before William could respond, a commotion erupted outside. A van screeched to a halt, and reporters spilled out, cameras flashing through the windows. William tensed, his voice low. "What the hell is this?" Maya's smile was faint, calculated. "The next step. We published our preliminary results today. The press was invited." Lena handed William a tablet displaying a headline. "Breakthrough Movement Program Redefines Pediatric Rehab." William's face darkened, his voice a growl. "You're using my son for publicity." Maya led him to a side room, its walls lined with photos of kids, each with handwritten progress notes. "This isn't about Ethan," she said, pointing to an empty frame. "It's about the future, a center for hundreds of kids if we get funding. You rejected us 4 times, so I made sure you'd see us now." William's hands clenched, his voice icy. "You manipulated me." "I took a shot," Maya countered, her eyes blazing. 5 months ago, you canceled our meeting without a glance. I promised myself I'd get through to you." Lena burst in, her voice urgent. "Maya, it's Ethan." They rushed back to the studio, where Ethan stood in the center, surrounded by kids. He'd unstrapped one brace, his leg trembling as he balanced on a single support. The room was silent, the music paused, every eye on him. William started forward, his voice sharp. "Ethan, stop! You'll hurt yourself!" Maya grabbed his arm, her whisper fierce. "Wait, let him try." Ethan took a deep breath, his face etched with focus. Then, to everyone's astonishment, he took a shaky step. Small, unsteady, but entirely his own. The kids erupted in cheers, cameras flashing as reporters captured the moment. William's breath caught, his eyes glistening. "How?" he murmured, his voice breaking. Maya's voice was soft but resolute. "That's why we're here. It's not about perfect steps. It's about his steps." The reporters swarmed, one shouting, "Mr. Carver, is this why you're here? To support this program you once rejected?" William looked at Ethan, now grinning with a younger girl who mimicked his step, and felt the weight of his empire shift. He was cornered. Retreat in anger or embrace the moment his son had created? The choice loomed, a test of the man he'd become. The Rhythm of Courage studio buzzed with a frenetic energy, its worn walls vibrating with the cheers of children and the relentless click of reporters' cameras. The air was thick with anticipation, the moment Ethan Carver took a trembling, unassisted step, now frozen in a flurry of flashes, a symbol of defiance against his limitations. Maya Ellis stood firm, her eyes locked on Ethan's radiant grin as he steadied himself, oblivious to the media storm.
William Carver, his casual sweater a stark contrast to his usual tailored suits, stood rooted, his face a battleground of pride and vulnerability. The reporters, sensing a story, closed in, their questions sharp and probing. Lena, Maya's sister, hovered near the edge of the crowd, her expression a mix of awe and unease, while Dr. Olivia Grant, the Yale neuroscientist, observed with a quiet smile, her cane tapping softly. The room was a crucible, and the truth was about to forge a new path. A reporter, her microphone thrust forward, zeroed in on William. "Mr. Carver, your son's breakthrough is extraordinary. Why are you here, supporting a program your foundation rejected 4 times?" William's jaw tightened, his gaze shifting to Ethan, who was now helping a younger boy adjust his prosthetic leg, their laughter a bright note amid the chaos. The question hung like a guillotine, exposing his past dismissals. He cleared his throat, his voice steady but carrying an unfamiliar humility. "Sometimes it takes seeing to believe. I was wrong about this program, and I'm here to make that right." The crowd hushed, stunned by the admission from a man whose name was synonymous with unyielding power. Maya's eyes widened, a flicker of respect crossing her face, though her stance remained guarded. Lena whispered to Olivia, "Did he just say that out loud?" Olivia nodded, her voice low. "He's learning, Lena." Slowly. The reporter pressed on, her tone sharp. "Does this mean Carver Enterprises is backing Rhythm of Courage, or is this a one-time visit for the cameras?" William's eyes met Maya's, a silent acknowledgement passing between them. "The Carver Foundation will fully fund Rhythm of Courage for the next 7 years, he announced, his voice ringing with conviction. "We'll build a state-of-the-art rehabilitation center based on Dr. Grant and Mrs. Ellis's methodology, with one condition. Mrs. Ellis retains complete control, no interference." The room erupted, cheers from the kids mingling with gasps from the press. Lena let out a whoop, grabbing Maya's arm. "You did it, sis!" Maya's smile was restrained, her mind racing. Victory was sweet, but she knew trust was fragile. A second reporter, a man with a skeptical frown, stepped forward. "Mrs. Ellis, you orchestrated this moment, didn't you, using Mr. Carver's son to force his hand?" Maya's gaze didn't waver, her voice clear. "I saw a chance to show what's possible when we let kids lead. Ethan's step wasn't planned, it was his choice. I just gave him the space to take it." Ethan, catching her words, beamed, his voice cutting through the noise. "Maya's right, I wanted to try, and she believed I could." His sincerity silenced the skeptic, and the crowd's applause swelled, a wave of support washing over the studio. William turned to Maya, his voice low, meant only for her. "You didn't have to play me like this, we could have talked." Maya's eyes softened, but her tone was firm. "Would you have listened? 4 rejections say no. I had to make you see Ethan's strength, not just his struggle." William nodded, a rare concession. "You're right, I didn't see him. Not really. Not until now." His gaze shifted to Ethan, now surrounded by friends, his confidence a stark contrast to the boy who'd hidden behind braces. Victor Crane, lurking at the back, his face a mask of barely concealed fury, slipped out, his phone already in hand. He dialed a contact, his voice a hiss. "The plan backfired. Carver's funding her. We need to hit harder. Find something to discredit that program." His contact, a gravelly voice, responded, "I'm on it. Centers like hers always have cracks. Give me a week." Victor's smile was cold, a predator scenting blood, unaware that Maya's resolve was a fortress he couldn't breach. 3 months later, bulldozers roared at a Brooklyn site, clearing ground for the new Rhythm of Courage Rehabilitation Center. The design, shaped by input from kids and families, prioritized accessibility over opulence. Ramps, sensory rooms, and a dance studio with a sprung floor. Maya oversaw construction, her clipboard filled with notes, but she was rarely alone. Ethan, now a regular, arrived with other kids, his braces lighter, his steps surer. William, to everyone's surprise, became a fixture, his presence quiet but steady, his casual attire a signal of his shift. One afternoon, as they reviewed blueprints, Maya glanced at William, her voice curious. "You're here more than I expected. Board meetings, site visits, why?" William rubbed his neck, his voice wry. "I didn't expect to be reading neuroscience journals at my age, but Ethan's progress, it's real. I want to understand it." Maya studied him, her tone probing. "Is this about fixing your image, or do you actually care?" William met her gaze, his voice raw. "Ethan asked to try a single crutch last week. His old team said it'd take years. You proved them wrong. That's why I'm here." Maya nodded, a faint smile breaking through. "Good, because Ethan's not the only one learning to take new steps." At the center's opening, the studio gleamed, filled with kids moving freely, their laughter echoing. Ethan, now using a lightweight brace, led a short routine with 3 peers, his movements fluid, his confidence infectious. William watched from the sidelines, his face unguarded, a father seeing his son anew. Maya approached, her voice soft. "He's not hiding anymore. You gave him that by showing up." William's eyes glistened, his voice quiet. "You gave him the courage to try. I just followed." He paused, then added, "I owe you an apology, not just for the rejections, but for underestimating you." Maya's smile was warm, genuine. "Keep showing up for him, and we're square." A reporter interrupted, her camera rolling. "Mr. Carver, what's the biggest change you've seen in Ethan?" William looked at his son, now guiding a younger girl through a step. "He's not just moving, he's leading. That's what makes me proud." The reporter turned to Maya. "Miss Ellis, what's next for Rhythm of Courage?" Maya's gaze swept the room, her voice resolute. "Expanding to reach more kids, proving that every child deserves a chance to find their rhythm." A year later, Rhythm of Courage opened branches in 2 cities, Maya's methodology adopted by hospitals nationwide. Ethan, now a youth ambassador, inspired others with his story, while William learned to step back, letting his son and Maya lead the way. The story of Maya Ellis, Ethan Carver, and William Carver at Le Ciel and Rhythm of Courage delivers profound lessons about courage, empathy, and dismantling prejudice. Maya's bold dance with Ethan, despite scorn, showcases the power of seeing beyond limitations, challenging societal biases that devalue based on race or role. Ethan's journey from hesitation to leadership underscores that true progress comes from trust and autonomy, not control. William's transformation from a detached billionaire to a father who learns to follow reveals that humility can reshape even the most rigid hearts. Their story exposes how prejudice thrives in silence and how one act of dignity can spark systemic change. It urges us to confront biases in our own lives, amplify marginalized voices, and create spaces where everyone can thrive. Maya's refusal to be bought and Ethan's fearless step remind us that integrity and courage outweigh wealth or status. This tale inspires us to build communities rooted in respect, where differences are strengths, not barriers. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more gripping stories that ignite inspiration, challenge injustice, and celebrate the transformative power of human connection.